All right. If not Bryce Young, then who? That is the question. There's a lot of things that need to shape up before we even know what is going to happen. But which quarterback, if it's not Bryce Young, do you like? Which quarterback would you want besides Bryce Young? Some people don't like Bryce Young at all. So this is basically just asking who you like and why. There's four names that get mentioned the most. CJ Stroud is the one after Bryce Young. And after the weekend, a lot of people are higher on CJ Stroud. Let's look at the pros of CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, he's bigger than Bryce Young. Some think he might have a little bit stronger of an arm. He's got pretty decent body of work. And I think it really just comes down to size. For me personally, I'll leave Bryce out of the discussion because I think Bryce is QB1. My second favorite quarterback in this class is CJ Stroud. The biggest knock on him for people that watched him at Ohio State, and I actually think this of all the things that he did in the bowl game, in the playoff game against Georgia, the thing that he did that he really wasn't doing that much before was he was willing to use his legs and he was willing to take off. Really a very gutsy performance, actually. And he deserved a better fate. Had it not been for that missed field goal, we'd probably be talking about Ohio State versus TCU in the playoff game. But one of the biggest knocks, and you might look at this as a strength, depending on how you look at it, is a lot of times CJ Stroud is not willing to use his legs as much as he should. And maybe that has to do with the fact that Ohio State's not always playing a team like Georgia, where you have to pull out all the stops. And in the Big Ten, 100% of the time, Ohio State's going to be more talented than their opponent. So, what's the point in running? Or maybe he's just trying to look at his progressions down the field and, try to use his arm a little bit and not just rely on arm strength. But in the Georgia game, he definitely used his legs, and he showed that, he's able to do that. Sometimes he's just not willing. But I like CJ Stroud. Now, do I like CJ Stroud enough to where if the Texans lose the number 1 pick and they have pick 2, they take CJ Stroud number 2? I don't. I don't like CJ Stroud that much. I don't really even like CJ Stroud enough to take him with the Cleveland pick. For me, Bryce Young is QB1, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off. Would I be upset if they did it? No. I'm intrigued to see what the evaluation is. But as far as the size, as far as the arm talent, and the mobility, which he actually showed, CJ Stroud, you can't go wrong with saying CJ Stroud's the second best guy. 24 career starts. He completes 69.3% of his passes, 81 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He's only rushed for 102 yards, or a rush for 102 yards in his time at Ohio State, which is really just kind of crazy, especially if you saw him against Georgia. I mean, that's actually like one of the more shocking statistics that you'll hear, that he only rushed for 102 yards, given the fact that he was able to kind of get loose against Georgia. So that just kind of tells you how unwilling he was to run in college, which you could look at as a good thing that he's wanting to pass first. But CJ Stroud, not as big on him as a lot of people are. The other variable, and I don't think this really matters as much as maybe it would have a year or so ago. I think he's going to end up being a Mulligetta client. Don't know if he's already signed. I know Brian Burney, Deshaun Watson's business guy, was handling a lot of his NIL stuff at Ohio State. Did a hell of a job, by the way, and handled Bijan Robinson's as well. Bijan ended up signing with Clutch. I haven't seen the announcement from CJ. I anticipate CJ ends up with Mulligetta. Maybe he already has. Haven't even really been following that, but it really doesn't matter. I think Mulligetta, Quincy Avery, Burney, whoever, I think they're anticipating having a future relationship with the Texans, and they're not opposed to it. The Deshaun stuff was actually handled pretty well with Nick Caserio, and Deshaun wanted out. before Nick Caserio had even arrived in the building. So I have it on pretty good authority, as good of authority as you can have. It's not speculation that actually went back and forth with Bernie a little bit. They're going to have, they're aware they're going to have Texan clients in the future, and it's not like some sort of beef. So I don't think that would matter too much. Next guy after CJ Stroud, Will Levis. I'll be honest, I don't like Will Levis. There's a lot of reasons why. This one's just kind of petty. It has nothing to do with football. That Mayo bit grosses me out. I guess he was with his girl getting coffee one day, and he decided to put mayonnaise in the coffee and drink it. That's gross as hell to me. And everybody has, just kind of run with it. I just don't really want to do the Mayo bit. But from a player perspective, Will Levis, to me, there's always like guys who are really, really great, and people try to copy the greatness of that guy, and they take inferior prospects and they say, well, this guy is the next this, or that guy is the next that. Like how many, next Michael Jordans were there? Harold Miner. Remember Baby Jordan, Harold Miner, all that. Like there's always like people trying to copy. Like this guy's the next Steph Curry, or, it's really bad with like Europeans. How many of the next Dirk Nowitzkis were there? I mean, there was a ton, man. Remember the Asian dude, Yi Jinlin, whatever he was. There was Nikolai Shika, whatever his name was, with the Nuggets. Andres Bargnani. Like there was always like a next Dirk. Any light-skinned guy who was slow that could shoot a little bit and dribble a little bit was the next Dirk, and it never really happened. That's what I feel like Will Levis is. With the talk, Josh Allen is what you hear. Will Levis is Josh Allen, 2.0, and there's a lot of comparisons to him. I don't think that he's Josh Allen. That doesn't mean that I think he's bad. I just don't think that Will Levis is Josh Allen. Now the counter is, what were they saying about Josh Allen coming into the draft? He was a joke. And anyone who says that they weren't criticizing that pick, I want to see the receipt. People were laughing at Josh Allen going to Buffalo. And even into his rookie year, people were laughing. But Will Levis, I don't think that he's Josh Allen. Now, he's more mobile than CJ Stroud. We talked about CJ having a little over 100 yards. Josh Allen has 742 career rushing yards. In his 4 years of playing. He started out at Penn State, actually transferred to Kentucky. Completion percentage about 64.9%. He's in the 65 range. I don't think that's too much of an issue. And like Josh Allen, the one thing that you can say about Will Levis is it might be a little bit more difficult to evaluate Will Levis because unlike CJ, unlike Bryce, he wasn't really playing with the caliber of talent that those guys have. So, sometimes, that's bad for your completion percentage. If the receivers aren't getting open or if they're not catching the rock and stuff, that's what people are saying about Will Levis. I wouldn't take Will Levis in the first round if I were the Texans. I just wouldn't. I look at Will Levis like a Paxton Lynch type where someone's going to trade up in the first round. I don't think he's going to be all that. That's where I'm at. I know some people, you'll look at the mock drafts. The mock drafts last year had, 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. They had Malik Willis going. They had Desmond Ridder. Sam Howell was even going up in some mock drafts. I look at Will Levis as like a late first round guy that someone's going to trade up for. And I just don't. That's just what I think of him. Could it be like another eat crow Josh Allen type of situation? Maybe so. I'm not as high on Will Levis as a lot of people. And then there's Anthony Richardson, he's got a lot of talent. I actually thought that Anthony Richardson was a guy who probably could have afforded to hang around a little bit longer. I I'm very intrigued to see where he falls. And I don't take mock drafts serious anymore when it comes to quarterback. I think last year was a very, very, very bad year for mock drafters when it came to quarterbacks with how late those guys went. So I'm not as high on Anthony Richardson. And I mean, we're talking about a sophomore player who's only played in 24 games. He's completing 54% of his passes, 24 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Now he can run. I mean, he can damn sure run. In those 3 years, 1,116 yards. But I just don't think I think Anthony Richardson, more than any of these guys, could have used another year in school. So when are you going to take Anthony Richardson? Do you feel comfortable putting him on the field immediately? I would think not. And as good of a runner as he is he Lamar Jackson? Like, is he gonna, be able to overcome any arm deficiencies? And I don't think Lamar has arm deficiencies, but as he was figuring out the game, he was able to lean on his legs a little bit more. If you're taking Anthony Richardson, you're taking him in the top 10. Maybe a team that already has a quarterback that they feel good about, they would be willing to do that. But if you're the Texans, I mean, what's the right situation for him? Do you draft him and let him sit for a couple of years, a year or so? Or are you going to let him go right out there? Anthony Richardson, to me, talking about when the Texans are going to be picking in the first round, I'm just not very comfortable with that. I'm very intrigued to hear what the film guys have to say. Again, I'm not a fake film guy. I'm a college football nerd who watches a lot of college football, and I'm an NFL guy who covers an NFL team and watches a lot of NFL football. And I put in as much work as I can, but I'm not one of these people who's going to sit here and act like I watch the tape. And I think the people who say they're watching the tape when you're not, I think it's fraudulent. I think it's disrespectful. I think, quite frankly, it's unnecessary because the tape guys are wrong every once in a while. But the guys are actually watching the tape, like the John Harrises, the Dane Bruglers, the Brian Broadduses, the Jeff Kavanaughs, the Jordan Reeds, the John Ledyards, like those type of guys. Those guys are, I mean, they're watching like every play 3 times from 3 different angles. And they have all the information from the teams, the coaches. They know, this wide receiver had a hurt ankle, so this is why maybe he wasn't connecting with them here. Like, they have all that information. And I'm intrigued to hear what they say about Anthony Richardson and Levis. I have a pretty good idea what they're going to say about CJ Stroud. The question marks are going to be, the system makes it very easy on the quarterbacks. I actually think that's kind of an advantage for Bryce, that he's having to do a lot on his own. He's having to create. He's having to extend. He's having to read plays at the line of scrimmage, for better or worse, with O'Brien calling plays. But the CJ thing, the guys are open quite often, and the receivers, they're really, really good. Not that Alabama has bad receivers, but the receivers at Ohio State, they're really, really good, and they're always open. Always open. You watch that Georgia game. He did make a couple of plays, but they're always, they are always open. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what the film guys say about that once they study. Someone's going to fall in love with Levis. Someone's going to fall in love with Stroud. Someone's going to fall in love with Anthony Richardson. And some people are going to hate Bryce. Some people are going to love Bryce. That's the beauty of this time of year. That's the beauty of the draft process, is that's what's going to happen. But if you ask me, I'm not taking any of these guys in the first round. I'm damn sure not taking any of these guys number 1, except Bryce Young. That's just me. And there's question marks about Bryce Young. They're very well documented, but I think he's QB1. I think when it comes to processing information, getting the ball out, just playing quarterback like an NFL quarterback plays, Bryce Young's my guy. I know there's a lot of people who aren't Bryce Young guys, but if the Texans don't get the number 1 pick and they don't get Bryce Young, and Bryce Young goes number 1, then audible. That's where I will be open to Will Anderson. I will be open to Jalen Carter. I will be open to trading like crazy. Bryce Young's the only quarterback I really like at the top of the draft. As far as other guys, a lot of people talking about, and by the way, Will Levis also, he's going to be 24 when camp starts. It might not be that big of a deal, but he's going to be 24 years old, which take that for what it's worth. Anthony Richardson, he's going to be 22. CJ Stroud, he's going to be around that age too. CJ Stroud's going to be, when camp starts, he's not even going to be 22. He's going to be 21. And then Bryce is around the same age. So Bryce is going to be 22 when camp starts, just turned 22. So Will Levis is a couple years older than those guys. Hendon Hooker is a guy that a lot of people mention. He might be a day 3, day 2 guy. 25. He's 25 years old, coming off the torn ACL, which, not a huge deal. But if you did watch Tennessee without him, they didn't seem to miss him too much in that bowl game. I'm rooting for Hendon Hooker. Seems like a great dude. But as far as this is going to be your next franchise quarterback, don't think so. Max Duggan, I don't even think Max Duggan's an NFL quarterback. I think Max Duggan is like a perfect, gritty college quarterback. Symbolizes what's great about college football, loyal to the program. When his numbers called, he has his best season ever, has a chance to make history, win TCU's 3rd national championship. I think their first one in over 70 years. But Max, he's not an NFL guy either. And then other than that, I don't really love any of those other guys. Let's get to the comments. Michael says any of the top QBs in the draft would be an improvement. Maybe. I don't know what it would look like if Will Levis or Anthony Richardson started a game right now in the NFL. I mean, maybe over time, but I don't know what it would look like in the NFL. We're talking about horseshoes. Lopez tried to say horseshoes is better than cornhole today, and it's like no one plays horseshoes. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. My uncles and dad used to play horseshoes. Nobody plays horseshoes. Do you think the Texans will pay Tunsil? I do. Steven asks, Bryce Young, I'll take him every day over CJ and Levis and everybody else. I concur with that. Stroud, Richardson are really the only two after Bryce I'd be interested in. Yeah, and I mean, when would you be interested in Richardson, though? That's the real question. I prefer Bryce because he has more playmaking ability and does more with less than Stroud, which is crazy to say about Alabama, but it's true. Too many people want Stroud because of the Georgia game. Idiotic to take a player because of one game. Yeah, I mean, the final college game, there was a lot of interested observers. And he played his ass off, and he probably deserved a better fate. But, yeah, I wouldn't put that. I think CJ will be a better pro. You're not alone. Faded opinion. Anything is better than Mills at this point. So Landry laced him up. No, I would suck. I would be much worse. 5.0, another scenario where both QBs can be in the AFC South. I hope we pick the right one. Yeah, they'll be connected. So if the Texans get one and then the Colts get one, these guys will be connected for a long time. I think Levis will be another Sam Darnold / Zach Wilson. Two different styles there. I mean, Levis does kind of try to play like Josh Allen. I just don't think he's Josh Allen. Well, I called Sam Howell last year. I called him Faker Mayfield. I just don't. I'll Gosh Allen. That's what I'll call Will Levis. He's Gosh Allen. Not Josh. He's Gosh Allen. Landry Lopez, lasting to them. You listen to us on 610 every day. Appreciate you, my friend. X, don't forget Figgy Fig. Never do. Nick says this might be the biggest game in deciding the Texans' future in a long time. I know, man. I'm so nervous that they're going to screw this up. It'll be so fun if they don't, and fun stuff will be ahead. But yeah, I'm with you. The Bryce is right. Hefe, would you trade both first-round picks for Lamar Jackson? No, I don't think you would have to. The non-Bryce Young guys are the Davis Mills over Trevor Lawrence guys from 4 months ago. God, man. That was exhausting. You're saying trade if we don't get the first. Where do you want the Texans to find a franchise QB? Here's the thing. There's no guarantee. I mean, it's not like if I believe that CJ Stroud or Will Levis or Anthony Richardson was a franchise QB, I wouldn't be saying trade. I don't know where the franchise quarterback would come from. And because I believe in Bryce Young, that's why that's the ideal scenario is where you find him. But sometimes there's whole drafts where there's not a franchise quarterback. And the Indianapolis Colts have been trying to find a quarterback for a long time. So I don't know where he comes from. I think he should be coming from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, but we'll see what happens. Bryce Young, if he goes to the Colts, Texans lose to them every year. That they will hate making that mistake. This is a fact. I pray Lovey gets fired Black Monday. I think he will. Nick says he has a loser mentality. Me too. Whatever the hell that means. I agree. Bryce, defensive star or trade. See, you and me got the same thing, LDR. According to multiple sources, Lovey is done. If that source is you, Nick Casario, I appreciate it. Does Nick watch this channel? Not sure. He'll listen in every once in a while on 610 and quote some stuff that we say. I'm not sure if he listens to if he watches this channel or not. Nick's got a lot of stuff going on, man. He's got a lot going on. Hefe, let's say there's a scenario where we don't get Bryce. Would you settle for Will Anderson? Yeah, of course. I don't think you need to tank. I think you still need to try to win games. So that's my thing. Look, they got so many picks and they got so much draft equity, and if they hire the right coach, like they might not be the worst team in the league, and there's a lot of young guys that could get better. So yeah, I mean, like I don't think you tank. I think you just play ball and see what happens, and you'll have a couple first round picks and stuff. But no, I mean, if you get Will Anderson, and if Will Anderson ends up being a Nick Bosa type of player, or it's like a really good defensive player, then you're heading on the right track. That's better than just drafting a quarterback just to draft a quarterback. But I'm not. They're not tanking next year. They're going to try to win, and they're going to be much improved. And if they aren't, that's going to be a real problem. Should the Bears take a QB and trade Justin if they get the number one pick? I don't know. I think they like Justin and want to keep rolling with him. Sign Brady to a 1-year deal. No, thank you. Max says, did you see bookies' odds that Lovie Smith will be fired Monday after the game? I did not. But I do think the odds are probably good. We got to get the top of the line coach, man, no doubt. It's the most important thing. That's going to be the first step. And then maybe stuff will shape up. And it'll be fun times. But either way, I'm a Bryce guy. Not a fan of any of these other guys in the first round. Texans need to lose on Sunday. Hopefully they will. ESPN, though, the advanced analytics stat or whatever the hell it is, gives them a 70% chance to win, although the odds makers on ESPN are betting on the Colts -2.5. It's going to be weird. It's going to be real weird. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun. I'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'll be on the air from 10 to 2 on the Odyssey app. Fire that up, Sports Radio 610. We got a lot to get into tomorrow. We got a hell of a lot. It's been a lot of fun so far this week. It's only going to get more fun. And hopefully we're talking about Bryce Young. And hopefully if it's not Bryce Young, I'm an idiot. And one of these quarterbacks that I don't think is going to be good. Hopefully one of these quarterbacks ends up being awesome. And much like many people were wrong about Josh Allen, I'm wrong, and I'm covering a hell of a quarterback. That would be lovely. No matter what happens, though, just remember, no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's CJ Stroud, whether it's Will Levis, whether it's Anthony Richardson, whether it's whoever the hell it is, we are all in this together. Have a good one, folks.